The observation deck of the Zephyrian flagship Dominion's Edge hummed with quiet efficiency. Through the massive viewport, Earth hung like a blue marble against the starfield, unaware of the alien eyes studying its every movement. Admiral Kethvar adjusted his scaled hands on the command console, his yellow eyes reflecting the planet's surface as data streams flowed across holographic displays. Preliminary assessment complete, he announced to the assembled council members. Target designation, Sol, 3. Local designation, Earth. Population, approximately 8 billion. Technology level, barely beyond chemical propulsion. Dr. Yilmoth, the expedition's chief science officer, manipulated a floating display with her four-fingered hands. Her purple-tinted skin gleamed under the chamber's artificial lights. Fascinating biological diversity, Admiral. However, their technological development follows predictable patterns. Category 3 civilization at best. They've achieved basic orbital capability but lack faster-than-light travel or energy weapons. Counselor Velterra, the expedition's diplomatic representative, nodded with approval. Her ceremonial robes rustled as she moved closer to examine the data. Standard integration protocols should suffice. A demonstration of our superior capabilities, followed by surrender negotiations. Most species at this level submit within 72 standard hours. Their military structure appears fragmented, added Commander Zekton, the tactical specialist. His scarred carapace bore marks from dozens of successful planetary acquisitions. Multiple nation-states with competing interests. No unified command structure. No orbital defense platforms of significance. Dr. Nimera, the behavioral analyst, studied psychological profiles streaming across her personal display. Initial scans indicate standard pre-space flight emotional patterns. Fear responses, tribal loyalties, limited strategic thinking. Nothing we haven't encountered before. Admiral Kethvar's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Excellent. The Hegemony Council will be pleased with our efficiency. Dr. Yilmoth, what's our projected timeline for full integration? Based on historical precedent with similar Category 3 civilizations. I estimate 6 to 8 standard months for complete cultural assimilation. 12 months maximum for full resource extraction to begin. Too long, Kethvar decided. The Hegemony grows impatient with our expansion rate. We'll begin with a limited demonstration. Something to motivate immediate surrender. Commander Zekton pulled up tactical displays showing Earth's defensive capabilities. Their most isolated military installations would serve as ideal targets. Minimal collateral damage, maximum psychological impact. Agreed. Select a target with strategic value but limited population. We want them frightened, not extinct. The Admiral's eyes gleamed as he turned to face the blue world below. After all, extinct species can't serve the hegemony. On the remote Pacific island of Wake Island, Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Chin checked her watch for the third time in 10 minutes. The small American outpost housed barely 300 personnel, mostly researchers and communication specialists. It wasn't supposed to be exciting. Ma'am, called Sergeant Mike Rodriguez from the radar station. I'm picking up something weird on long-range sensors. Chin approached the console, her boots clicking against the concrete floor. Define weird, Sergeant. Unknown contact, approaching from high orbit. It's big. Really big. And it's not broadcasting any identification signals. Dr. James Murphy, the station's chief scientist, looked up from his computer terminal. Could be space debris. We track a lot of junk up there. This is moving under power, Rodriguez insisted. Decelerating in a controlled manner. Current trajectory puts it directly over us. Chin felt a chill run down her spine. Give me a direct line to Pacific Command. Now. Ma'am, I'm trying, but all satellite communications are down. Every channel. Local radio? Also dead. Whatever that thing is, it's jamming everything. Through the reinforced windows of the communication center, they could see it now. A massive shape descended through the cloud layer, larger than any aircraft they'd ever seen. Its hull gleamed with an otherworldly metallic sheen, and strange symbols pulsed with blue light along its surface. All personnel to defensive positions, Chin ordered over the base intercom. This is not a drill. Unknown aircraft approaching from the northwest. Follow Protocol 7. The alien vessel settled into a hover pattern 500 meters above the island. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, a beam of coherent light struck the outpost's main generator building. The explosion lit up the Pacific darkness like a small sun. Direct hit confirmed, reported Commander Zekton from the Dominion's Edge. Target's primary power grid is offline. No return fire detected. As expected, Admiral Kethvar replied with satisfaction. Humans respond predictably to superior force. Open a communication channel. The holographic display shimmered, then resolved into the image of the human base. Tiny figures scurried between buildings like insects. Broadcasting on all frequencies, announced the communications officer. Kethvar's translated voice boomed across Wake Island. Attention, human military facility. You have witnessed our capabilities. Surrender immediately, and you will not be harmed. Resistance is futile. Lieutenant Colonel Chin ducked as another explosion rocked the communications building. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the command center. Damage report. Main generator is gone, Sergeant Rodriguez called out. We're running on backup power. Communications are still down. Weapons. We've got small arms, 2 heavy machine guns, and about 6 anti-tank missiles. Nothing that's going to scratch something that big. Dr. Murphy crouched beside a damaged computer terminal, frantically typing commands. Sarah, I might have something. The atmospheric ionization from their weapons has created a temporary electromagnetic field around the island. English, document. Their own weapons are interfering with their sensors. If we can generate enough additional electromagnetic interference, we might be able to mask our heat signatures. Chin considered the options. 300 people against a ship the size of a city block. Surrender seemed logical, but something in her military training rebelled against the idea. What do you need? She asked. Every piece of electronic equipment on this island. Radios, computers, anything with a circuit board. We're going to overload them all at once. That'll fry everything we have. We're going to lose it anyway if we surrender. At least this way, we go down fighting. Chin keyed her radio. All stations, this is Chin. Begin Operation Blackout. Repeat, Operation Blackout is a go. Curious, Dr. Yilmoth observed from the alien flagship. Their electromagnetic signature is increasing exponentially. This defies logical analysis. Perhaps their primitive technology is malfunctioning under stress, suggested Counselor Velterra. Commander Zektun's expression darkened. No, this is deliberate. They're intentionally destroying their own equipment to create sensor interference. That makes no sense, Dr. Nimera protested. Self-destructive behavior serves no tactical purpose. Unless... Zektun paused, studying the tactical display. They're trying to mask their movements. Admiral Kethvar's mandibles clicked with irritation. From what? They have no weapons capable of threatening us. Below them, Wake Island disappeared into a cloud of electromagnetic static. On the thermal displays, the 300 human heat signatures scattered in all directions, becoming impossible to track individually. Sir, the sensor operator announced. I'm detecting multiple launches from the island's surface. Missiles. Negative. They appear to be flares. Hundreds of them. The night sky around the alien vessel suddenly bloomed with brilliant white light. Parachute flares drifted slowly downward, turning the darkness into blazing day. They're trying to blind our visual sensors, Zektun realized. Primitive but effective, Admiral Kethvar admitted grudgingly. Compensate with infrared. Infrared is useless through this electromagnetic interference. We're effectively blind. That's when the real attack began. The humans had emptied their fuel storage tanks across the island's surface, creating a network of trenches filled with aviation fuel. When Dr. Murphy triggered the ignition charges, the entire island became a ring of fire. The alien ship, caught in the thermal updraft, was forced to climb rapidly to avoid the superheated air. Damage report, Kethvar demanded. Minor hull scorching on the lower decks. No structural damage. But sir, the probability models indicate this level of tactical creativity should be impossible for a Category 3 civilization. They use their own infrastructure as a weapon, Dr. Nimera said, her voice filled with something that might have been respect. No rational species would sacrifice their own resources in such a manner. Commander Zektun studied the tactical display with growing unease. Admiral, I recommend we withdraw and reassess. This is unexpected. Withdraw? From primitives armed with flares and fuel? Kethvar's scaled hands tightened on his command chair. Target their central command structure. In this, the alien ship's main weapon powered up, its energy signature visible even through the electromagnetic interference. But as the beam lanced downward, it struck empty air. The command center was gone. Not destroyed. Abandoned. The humans had evacuated their leadership to a hidden bunker somewhere on the island. In the minutes they bought with their improvised defenses, they disappeared like ghosts. Sir, the communications officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. Put it through. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Chin's voice crackled through the static. Unknown aircraft, this is Colonel Chin, United States Air Force. You wanted to talk, so let's talk. You are defeated, Kethvar responded. Your weapons are exhausted. Your defenses are destroyed. Maybe, but you still don't know where we are. And you still don't know what else we're planning. You have nothing left to plan with. Shin's laugh was cold and bitter. You'd be surprised what humans can accomplish with nothing but time and motivation. Dr. Yilmoth reviewed the incident report for the third time, her purple skin pale with concern. The humans on the island, they held our forces at bay for 6 hours. 6 hours. A Category 3 civilization shouldn't possess such tactical sophistication. It was a fluke, Counselor Velterra insisted. One unusually creative military leader. Nothing more. Perhaps Admiral Kethvar mused. But the Hegemony Council requires absolute certainty. We'll conduct a secondary demonstration. Something larger in scale. Commander Zekton highlighted a location on the tactical display. The Moon Base Alpha installation. Earth's largest off-world facility. Approximately 1,500 inhabitants, mostly scientists and engineers. If we can force their surrender, it will demonstrate our control over their space-based assets. Excellent choice. A space-based target eliminates the environmental factors that complicated our previous engagement. Dr. Nimera studied the psychological profiles of the Moon-based personnel. These are their best and brightest. Highly educated, logical thinkers. They should respond more predictably to a show of force. Begin the approach, Kethvar ordered. This time, we end it quickly. Commander Elena Vasquez floated in the zero-gravity section of Moon Base Alpha, reviewing the latest supply manifest when the alarms began sounding. The rotating habitat's artificial gravity kicked in as she drifted toward the command center. Report, she called to her communications officer. Ma'am, we've got a large unidentified vessel approaching from the dark side of the moon. It's massive, easily 10 times the size of our largest ships. Dr. Raj Patel, the base's chief engineer, pulled up sensor data on his tablet. Elena, you need to see this. That ship is using technology we can't even classify. Its energy signature is off the charts. Any word from Earth? Nothing. All communications are being jammed, just like what happened to Wake Island before it went dark. Vasquez felt her stomach sink. Wake Island had been attacked 12 hours ago. No word from the 300 personnel stationed there. Either they were dead, or they were prisoners. All hands, this is Commander Vasquez. Unknown vessel approaching. Battle stations, Protocol 9. All civilian personnel to emergency shelters. The alien ship emerged from behind the lunar horizon like a mechanical moon, its hull bristling with weapon systems that defied human understanding. As it settled into orbit above the moon base, its size became truly apparent. The entire human facility could fit inside one of its docking bays. The communication came in perfect English, transmitted on multiple frequencies. Human lunar facility. You will surrender immediately. Resistance will result in your immediate destruction. Vasquez keyed her microphone. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Elena Vasquez, United Nations Space Command. State your intentions. You will surrender your facility and submit to interrogation. You have 5 minutes to comply. Dr. Patel floated over to Vasquez's station. Elena, I've been monitoring their energy patterns. That ship is running on some kind of controlled antimatter reaction. If they wanted to destroy us, they could turn this entire base into plasma. So why haven't they? They want something from us. Information. Maybe prisoners. Vasquez studied the tactical display. 1,500 people under her command. Civilians, scientists, engineers. People with families back on Earth. The smart play was to surrender. Save as many lives as possible. But she remembered her training at the academy. Sometimes the smart play wasn't the right play. Dr. Patel, what's our power situation? We've got the main fusion reactor, plus 6 backup power cells. Why? Can you overload them? Patel's eyes widened. Elena, if we overload the fusion reactor, it'll take out half the lunar surface. Including us. What about just the backup cells? That would create a pretty significant electromagnetic pulse. It would probably fry every electronic system within a few thousand kilometers. Including theirs? Potentially. But it would also kill our life support. We'd have maybe 30 minutes of emergency air. Vasquez looked around the command center at the faces of her crew. Young, dedicated people who'd volunteered for one of humanity's most dangerous assignments. They deserved better than to become prisoners of an alien species. Do it, she decided. Ma'am, overload the backup power cells. On my mark. Elena, that's suicide. Maybe. But if these aliens think they can just roll over humanity without a fight, they're about to learn otherwise. The humans are not responding to our ultimatum, Commander Zekton reported from the Dominion's edge. Their time limit has expired, Admiral Kethvar replied. Target their life support systems. A few minutes without air will motivate cooperation. Sir, their power signature is fluctuating. They appear to be overloading their own systems. Dr. Yilmotha's hands moved frantically over her sensor controls. This is impossible. They're deliberately sabotaging their own power grid. Again, Dr. Nimera's voice carried a note of genuine alarm. Admiral, this is the second time we've observed humans choosing self-destruction over surrender. A bluff, Kethvar decided. They're trying to frighten us with a meaningless gesture. The explosion that followed was anything but meaningless. 6 backup power cells, each containing enough energy to power a small city, detonated simultaneously. The electromagnetic pulse they generated was visible from Earth as a brief new star on the Moon's surface. Every electronic system within 3,000 kilometers instantly died, including the alien ship sensors, navigation, and communication arrays. The Dominion's edge went dark, drifting blind in lunar orbit as its automated systems struggled to restart. Emergency lighting flickered on throughout the ship as alien technicians scrambled to assess the damage. Report, Kethvar demanded. Primary sensors are offline. Navigation is offline. Communication arrays are completely fried. We're running on emergency power only. How long for repairs? 6 hours minimum. Possibly 12. Commander Zekton studied the emergency displays with growing concern. Sir, the humans just demonstrated they're willing to sacrifice themselves to deny us victory. This level of tactical sacrifice is unprecedented. They're all dead, Velterra pointed out. How's that a victory for them? Because now we can't interrogate them. We can't learn their military secrets or their technology. They chose death over cooperation. Dr. Nimera's behavioral analysis scrolled across her display. Most disturbing is their apparent lack of fear. Standard psychological profiles indicate that primitives should be terrified of superior technology. These humans showed no fear whatsoever. They showed something else, Zekton added quietly. They showed planning. That electromagnetic pulse wasn't a desperate last-second decision. They prepared for this possibility. Admiral Kethvar's mandibles clicked with growing irritation. 2 isolated incidents. Nothing more. We'll select a larger target for our next demonstration. Something they can't simply destroy to deny us. The emergency session of the Galactic Hegemony Council convened in the secure conference chamber of the Dominion's edge. Admiral Kethvar stood before the assembled representatives, his scaled features grim in the artificial light. The situation has evolved beyond our initial parameters, he began. The humans are not responding to standard intimidation protocols. Dr. Yilmoth activated a holographic display showing Earth's major population centers. We require a target that cannot be easily destroyed or abandoned. Something with significant strategic and emotional value. Commander Zekton highlighted several locations on the display. I recommend we focus on one of their major population centers. New York, London, Tokyo. 8 to 12 million inhabitants. Too large to evacuate, too important to sacrifice. The psychological impact would be considerable, Dr. Nimera agreed. But Admiral, I must note that our previous encounters suggest the humans are not responding to psychological pressure as predicted. They're primitives, Counselor Velterra insisted. Faced with the destruction of millions of their own kind, they'll have no choice but to surrender. Kethvar studied the tactical options. We'll target the European Space Command facility in Geneva. It's their largest military coordination center, surrounded by civilian population. They cannot abandon it without crippling their global defense network. And if they choose to fight again? Zekton asked. Then we'll demonstrate the full power of the hegemony. No more limited strikes. Complete orbital bombardment. General Marcus Webb stood in the underground command center of the European Space Command, 300 meters beneath the Swiss Alps. The facility coordinated Earth's entire orbital defense network, from satellite early warning systems to the small fleet of military spacecraft humanity had managed to launch. It was also home to nearly 50,000 military and civilian personnel, with another 2 million people living in the Geneva metropolitan area above. Sir, Lieutenant Morrison called from the communication station. We're receiving reports of a massive alien vessel entering Earth orbit. Same configuration as the ships that attacked Wake Island and Moonbase Alpha. Webb studied the tactical display. After losing contact with both previous targets, Earth's military had gone into full alert status. Every available weapon had been moved into position. Every ship had been recalled to home orbit. It wasn't much. Humanity's entire space-based military consisted of 6 destroyers, 12 frigates, and a handful of support vessels. Against the massive alien ship, they would be like gnats attacking an eagle. Are we getting any response from the lunar colonies? Webb asked. Negative, sir. Moonbase Alpha has been completely silent since the attack. We have to assume they're either dead or captured. Dr. Sarah Kim, the facility's chief technology officer, looked up from her computer terminal. General, I've been analyzing the sensor data from both previous attacks. I think I know what we're dealing with. Go ahead. The alien ship is using some kind of directed energy weapon system. Essentially, they're firing controlled bursts of antimatter. The energy release is massive, but it's also highly focused. What's that mean for us? It means their weapons are designed for precision strikes against specific targets. They're not equipped for area bombardment. Webb considered this information. So they can't just glass an entire city? They could, but it would take time. Hundreds of individual strikes. Maybe thousands. How much time? To destroy Geneva? Maybe 6 hours. Webb keyed his microphone. All stations, this is General Webb. Prepare for Operation Prometheus. Authorization code Alpha 77 Zulu. Lieutenant Morrison looked up from his station. Sir, Prometheus is a last resort protocol. Are you sure? Lieutenant, we're facing extinction. There are no protocols left except last resort. The alien ship settled into orbit above Geneva like a metallic storm cloud. From the city below, it was visible to the naked eye, a dark shadow against the afternoon sky. Admiral Kethvar opened a communication channel to the human facility. European Space Command, you will surrender immediately. You have 10 minutes to evacuate all military personnel to the surface for transport. General Webb's voice came back clear and steady. Unknown vessel, this is General Marcus Webb, European Space Command. We're not surrendering. We're not evacuating. If you want this facility, you'll have to take it. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Your resistance serves no purpose. Maybe. But you're about to learn something about humanity that you should have figured out by now. And what is that? We don't give up. Ever. The first energy blast struck the mountain above the command center, carving a crater 50 meters wide in the solid rock. Emergency klaxons sounded throughout the facility as personnel scrambled to emergency stations. Damage report, Webb called out. Surface installations are gone. Satellite communication array is destroyed. But the main facility is intact. Dr. Kim was working frantically at her computer terminal. General, Prometheus is online. All systems are go. Execute. What happened next defied every assumption the aliens had made about human technology and human nature. Hidden throughout the Geneva facility were 6 small fusion reactors, each one modified far beyond its original specifications. Dr. Kim and her team had spent the last 24 hours connecting them in series, creating a single massive energy source. Instead of using this power for weapons or shields, they used it for something else entirely. The entire facility became a massive radio transmitter. Every piece of metal in the underground complex was suddenly carrying a coordinated electromagnetic signal. The mountain itself became an antenna, broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously. But this wasn't a message to Earth. This was a message to space. For the last 50 years, humanity had been listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. What they discovered was that space was full of chatter. Thousands of species, millions of communication channels, all broadcasting their thoughts and plans across the cosmic void. What they'd also discovered was that most of these species had one thing in common. They were afraid of something. Dr. Kim's modified transmitter wasn't just broadcasting randomly. It was broadcasting a very specific message on a very specific frequency. A frequency that every species in the galaxy monitored carefully. The distress frequency of the Void Hunters. Sir, the communications officer on the Dominion's edge reported, his voice tight with alarm. We're detecting a massive energy surge from the human facility. They're broadcasting on. No, that's impossible. Admiral Kethvar moved to the communication station. Report. They're broadcasting on the Void Hunter emergency frequency. The signal is, it's a perfect match for a Hunter distress beacon. Commander Zekton's expression went pale. That's impossible. The Void Hunters have been extinct for 10,000 years. And even if they weren't, no primitive species could replicate their communication protocols. Dr. Yilmoth studied the signal analysis. The broadcast is continuous and high-powered. If anyone in this stellar region is monitoring that frequency, they'll think the Void Hunters have returned, Kethvar finished. And they'll come to investigate. Or they'll flee, Zekton added grimly. Most species would rather abandon an entire star system than face the Hunters. Dr. Nimera looked up from her behavioral analysis station. How could the humans possibly know about the Void Hunters? That information is classified at the highest levels of the hegemony. They've been listening, Kethvar realized. These primitives have been monitoring our communications for decades. Maybe centuries. The alien ship's weapon systems powered up for another strike, but before they could fire, new contacts appeared on the long-range sensors. "Admiral," the sensor operator announced, "we have multiple ships approaching from the outer system. Configuration unknown. Trajectory indicates they're responding to the Hunter beacon." How many ships? At least a dozen. Possibly more. They're still beyond detailed sensor range. Kethvar studied the tactical display with growing alarm. If even half of those ships belonged to species that remembered the Void Hunters, the Dominion's edge was about to face overwhelming odds. "Sir," Commander Zekton said quietly, "I recommend immediate withdrawal. If those ships decide we're responsible for the Hunter signal." Withdraw? From a handful of primitives? "Admiral, the humans just demonstrated they have detailed knowledge of galactic history and alien communication protocols. They're not primitives. We don't know what they are." In the Geneva Command Center, General Webb watched the tactical display as the alien ship began to withdraw from Earth orbit. "Sir," Lieutenant Morrison reported, "the alien vessel is moving away. They're heading for the outer system." Dr. Kim looked up from her communication station. "General, we're receiving multiple contacts on the Void Hunter frequency. At least 15 different species, all demanding to know why we're broadcasting on that channel." "What are you telling them?" "The truth. That we're humans, and we were using the frequency to scare off an alien invasion force." Webb raised an eyebrow. "And they're buying that?" "Actually, yes. Apparently most species think humanity is either completely insane or completely fearless for using the Hunter frequency. Either way, they're impressed." "Any of them offering to help?" 3 different species have offered to send military support. 2 others want to establish formal diplomatic relations. And 1 species wants to hire us as mercenaries. Webb leaned back in his command chair. "Lieutenant, open a channel to all Earth Defense Forces." "Channel open, sir." "All stations, this is General Webb. The immediate threat is past. The alien vessel is withdrawing from Earth orbit. However, this engagement has revealed that we are not alone in the galaxy, and we are not the most advanced species out there." He paused, looking around the command center at the faces of his staff. "We've also learned something else. We've learned that sometimes the best defense is not your strongest weapon. Sometimes the best defense is knowing when to ask for help, and knowing how to ask for it." The emergency session of the Hegemony Council was held aboard the Dominion's Edge as the ship fled Earth's solar system at maximum speed. Admiral Kethvar stood before the assembled representatives, his scaled features grim. "The operation has been unsuccessful," he reported. "Unsuccessful?" Counselor Valterra's voice carried an edge of disbelief. "You were driven off by a single planet of primitives?" "The humans are not primitives," Commander Zekton interrupted. "They demonstrated advanced knowledge of galactic politics, sophisticated communication technology, and tactical innovation that exceeds our predictive models." Dr. Yilmoth activated a holographic display showing the engagement data. "The humans showed capabilities we didn't know they possessed. More importantly, they showed knowledge we didn't know they had. Most disturbing," Dr. Nimera added, "is their apparent lack of fear regarding their own destruction. They chose to risk annihilation rather than submit to our authority." Admiral Kethvar studied the assembled council members. "The humans must be reclassified. They are not a Category 3 civilization. I'm not certain what category they belong in." "What are you recommending?" Valterra asked. "I recommend we avoid this system entirely. The humans have demonstrated they're willing to use any means necessary to defend themselves. They've also demonstrated they have allies we didn't know about." Commander Zekton pulled up the tactical analysis. "Furthermore, they've shown they can adapt to our technology remarkably quickly. Each engagement showed increased sophistication in their response." "They learned from each encounter," Dr. Yilmoth agreed. "They identified our capabilities and developed countermeasures. This suggests a level of technological adaptability that could be extremely dangerous." Dr. Nimera's behavioral analysis scrolled across her display. "Perhaps most concerning is their response to overwhelming odds. Instead of surrendering, they escalated. Instead of fleeing, they called for help. This is not the behavior of a species that can be easily conquered." Admiral Kethvar turned to face the viewport, where Earth's sun was now just another star in the distance. "The Hegemony Council will need to make a decision about humanity. But I know what my recommendation will be." "Which is?" Valterra prompted. "Alliance. Not conquest. Alliance. With primitives?" "They're not primitives. There's something else entirely. Something dangerous." Commander Zekton nodded grimly. "Admiral, if I may, the humans didn't just defeat us. They made us afraid. When was the last time the Hegemony faced a species that could do that?" "Never," Kethvar admitted. "In 300 years of expansion, We've never encountered a species like humanity. So what do we tell the Hegemony Council? Admiral Kethvar's mandibles clicked as he considered the question. We tell them the truth. We tell them that humanity is not a species to be conquered. They're a species to be respected and feared. And if the Council doesn't accept that recommendation, Kethvar looked out at the stars, thinking of the blue world they'd left behind. A world full of beings who would rather die than surrender, who would risk everything to protect what they loved. Then the Council will learn the same lesson we did, the hard way. Dr. Yilmoth deactivated the holographic displays. I'll begin preparing the full report. How should I classify the human response to our presence? Unprecedented, Kethvar replied. And effective. As the Dominion's edge jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth's solar system far behind, Admiral Kethvar couldn't shake the image of that blue world from his mind. A world whose inhabitants had looked at the vastness of space, seen they were not alone, and decided not to hide. Instead, they had chosen to fight. And in fighting, they had earned something that no species in hegemony history had ever achieved. They had earned the right to remain free. 3 months later, the Hegemony Council convened an emergency session to address the human situation. Representatives from 47 member species gathered in the massive chamber, their diverse forms creating a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes. Admiral Kethvar stood at the center of the chamber, his report complete. The silence that followed was heavy with implication. Finally, High Counselor Morthak spoke. His ancient voice carried the weight of centuries of galactic politics. You're requesting that we reclassify humanity as a Category 1 species? Yes, High Counselor. Based on their demonstrated capabilities and their potential for rapid technological advancement. They barely have faster-than-light travel. Their largest ships are smaller than our patrol vessels. With respect, High Counselor, they don't need large ships. They have something more valuable, which is, they have the ability to turn any situation to their advantage. They have the willingness to sacrifice everything for their freedom. And they have allies. Counselor Velterra rose from her seat. High Counselor, I must object. We cannot allow a single failed military operation to dictate hegemony policy. It wasn't a single operation, Commander Zektun interjected. It was 3 separate engagements, each showing increased human sophistication and tactical awareness. Dr. Nimera activated her behavioral analysis display. High Counselor, the psychological profiles are unprecedented. Humans show no fear response to superior force. They show no submission instinct when faced with certain death. They show organizational abilities that suggest a species-wide military culture. Furthermore, Dr. Yilmoth added, they demonstrate technological adaptation rates that exceed our fastest developing species by several orders of magnitude. High Counselor Morthak considered the evidence. What exactly are you proposing? Admiral Kethvar stepped forward. Formal diplomatic recognition. Non-aggression treaty. Possibly even alliance negotiations. Alliance? With a species that barely qualifies as spacefaring. High Counselor, this species convinced multiple galactic powers to respond to their distress call. In less than 6 hours, they had assembled a military response that forced our withdrawal. They didn't do this with advanced technology. They did it with knowledge, planning, and sheer audacity. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If they can do that with primitive technology, Kethvar continued, what will they be capable of in 10 years? In 50 years? In a century? High Counselor Morthak's ancient eyes studied the tactical displays. You believe they pose a genuine threat to the hegemony? I believe they pose a threat to anyone who considers them an enemy. But I also believe they could be valuable allies to anyone who treats them with respect. And if we choose to ignore them? Admiral Kethvar looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives. Species from across the galaxy, united under hegemony rule through a combination of diplomacy and force. Then someday, they'll come looking for us. And when they do, they won't be coming to surrender. The vote was close. 24 species voted for diplomatic recognition. 23 voted for continued monitoring. But it was enough. For the first time in hegemony history, a species had fought their way to the negotiating table. And in the depths of space, on a small blue world orbiting an ordinary yellow star, humanity continued to look up at the night sky and dream of the day they would walk among the stars as equals. They had no idea that day had already arrived. The first human ambassador to the galactic hegemony would arrive 6 months later, aboard a ship that was barely worthy of the name. But she would carry with her the respect of 47 alien species, earned not through conquest, but through the simple human refusal to give up. And in the halls of the Hegemony Council, whenever young species asked how they might gain recognition among the stars, the answer was always the same. Be like the humans. Fight for what you believe in. Never surrender. And always remember that the deadliest weapon in the galaxy isn't antimatter or plasma cannons. It's the refusal to be defeated. Earth's deadliest weapon had been launched, and it had conquered the galaxy without firing a single shot. It was the indomitable human spirit,